Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. This is MD Saiful Islam, an assistant teacher of Oriental High School of Bangladesh, and you are most welcome in my Saiful English Academy again. Dear learners, hope that you are very fine by the grace of Almighty Allah and watched my previous classes smartly. And with the reference of my previous classes, today's class I have been present in front with a new advanced class named Selection Away of various kinds of sentence. My dear learners, in my previous classes, you are taught various kinds of definition and classification of sentences. My dear learners, in my previous classes, you are taught what's a sentence. You are told that, my dear learners, a sentence is a word or a group of words which makes complete sense. Complete sense. My dear learners, in my previous classes, you were told about parts of a sentence. You were told that, my dear learners, there are two parts of a sentence. Number one, subject, and number two, predicate. Predicate, my dear learners, you were told that, my dear learners, what's a subject? You were told that, my dear learners, subject is a part of a sentence which does the action of the sentence. My dear learners, you are told what's a predicate. You are told that, my dear learners, predicate is a raised part of a sentence which explains what the subject is doing. What the subject is doing, my dear learners. You are told that, my dear learners, classification of a sentence according to meaning. You are told that, my dear learners, according to meaning, we can classify a sentence into five ways. Five ways. Number one, assertive sentence. Assertive sentence. You are told that what's an assertive sentence? You are told that, my dear learners, an assertive sentence is a type of sentence which makes a complete sense. Complete sense or complete statement. Complete statement. You are told that, my dear learners, there are two categories of assertive sentence, such as affirmative sentence and negative sentence. You are told that what's an affirmative sentence? You are told that, my dear learners, an affirmative sentence is a sentence which makes the sense of affirmation. You are told that, my dear learners, what's a negative sentence? You are told that, my dear learners, a negative sentence is a sentence which makes the sense of negation, which makes the sense of negation. My dear learners, you are told what's an interrogative sentence. You are told that, my dear learners, an interrogative sentence is a type of sentence which makes questions to anybody about anything. About anything. My dear learners, you are told what's an imperative sentence. You are told that, my dear learners, an imperative sentence is a sentence which makes or gives and command, order and advice, a request, a prohibition and instruction, etc. My dear learners, you're told what's an optative sentence. You're told that, my dear learners, an optative sentence is a type of sentence which expresses a wish, a prayer, a hope, a desire, cause, etc. My dear learners, you're told what's an exclamatory sentence. You're told that, my dear learners, an exclamatory sentence is a type of sentence which expresses a strong feeling or emotion such as excitement, surprise, or anger, etc. My dear learners, of that you have understood clearly. My dear learners, you are told about classification of sentence according to structure. You are told that, my dear learners, according to structure, we can classify a sentence into three ways. Into three ways, my dear learners. Number one, simple sentence. Number two, complex sentence, and number three, compound sentence. You are told that, my dear learners, what's a simple sentence? You are told that, my dear learners, a simple sentence is a type of sentence which has at least a principal clause. A principal clause. Sometimes it may have some phrases or not. Okay, my dear learners, you are told what's a complex sentence. What's a complex sentence. A child that made learners. A complex sentence is a type of sentence which has at least a principal clause and a subordinate clause. My dear Leonard, your child words a compound sentence. Your child and my dear Leonard, a compound sentence is a type of sentence which is mixed two principal clause, which has two principal clause mixed with any subordinating conjunction such as and, but, or, either, the, or, neither, the, nor, etc. My dear Leonard, hope that you have understood clearly. But my dear Leonard, with the reference of my previous classes, today's class I have been present in front of you with a new version and a new class about selection of various types of sentences. So, my dear learners, knowledge, take a look at the board and try to understand. Thank you very much. Okay, my dear learners, take a look at the board and try to understand. According to meaning, we can classify a sentence into five ways. Number one, among of them, number one is assertive sentence. Assertive sentence. You'll have to mind that, my dear learners, we can select a sentence, an assertive sentence into one ways. Number one, Magellanus, starting word subject and finally ended with the notes of full stop. Starting word subject and finally ended with the notes of full stop. With the reference of this selection, I have written two examples, Magellanus. So take a look at the board and try to understand. Number one, Raisha is a good girl. Raisha is a good girl. This sentence makes the sense of affirmation. So we can call this sentence an affirmative sentence. An affirmative sentence. My learners. Second example, Abdullah is not a bad boy. Abdullah is not a bad boy. This sentence makes the sense of negation. So we can call this sentence negative sentence. But you'll have to mind that, my dear learners, either affirmative sentence or negative sentence. So both sentences are included of assertive sentence. Of the you have understood clearly. My dear learners, now I'm trying to discuss an interrogative sentence. You'll have to mind that, my dear learners, we can select an interrogative sentence into two ways. Two ways. Number one, starting word auxiliary verb, and finally engage with the notes of question mark. Question mark. Number two, my dear learners, W is question and finally ended with the notes of question mark. My dear learners, of course, you know that, my dear learners, there are 24 categories of auxiliary verb. 24 categories of auxiliary verbs, such as Amnesia, was, where, do, does, did, have, has, had, can, could, may, might, shall, should, will, would, must, need, your, ought to, used to, which was the discussion matter of my previous classes. My dear learners, of course, you know that, my dear learners, there are nine categories of WH questions, such as who, what, which, why, when, where, whom, whose, and how. And such kinds of auxiliary verb and WH question is used before subject beginning of the statement and finally ended with the notes of question mark. Such kinds of sentence you may include of an interrogative sentence. Hope that you have understood clearly. Magellanus, with the selection I have written two examples. Magellanus, first example, Magellanus, are you are you learning English now? Are you learning English now? Second example, what are you learning now? Magellanus, take a look at the board and try to understand. First example is started with auxiliary verb are, and second example is started with W is question. What of the job you have understood clearly. Now think about, my dear learners. Now think about an interrogative sentence. You have to mind that, my dear learners, we can identify or select an imperative sentence into five ways. Number one, starting word verb and finally engage with the notes of full stop. Number two, starting what? Donut, don't, never. And finally, ended with the notes of full stop. You'll have to mind that number three, starting what? Please, oblique, kindly, and finally, ended with the notes of question mark. Number four, starting what? Let, and finally, ended with the notes of full stop. And number five, starting what? Always, and finally, ended with the notes of full stop. Maintenance. With the reference of this selection, I have written five examples. So, my dear learners, take a look at the board and try to understand. So, number one, listen to me. Listen to me. This sentence is started with verb and finally ended with the notes of full stop. Number two, never chill a lie. Never chill a lie. This sentence is started with never and finally ended with the notes of full stop. Number three, my dear learners, please help me. This sentence is started with please and finally ended with the notes of full stop. Next, number four, let us go out. Let us go out. So this sentence is started with lecture. And number five, they always speak the truth. Always speak the truth. This sentence is started with always and ended with the notes of full stop. So, my dear learners, these five categories of sentence starting words, especially verb, do not, never, please, kindly, let, always. You can include of an imperative sentence. Imperative sentence. Hope that you have understood clearly. Now think about sentence number four. This is called an optative sentence. Optative sentence. My dear learners, you'll have to mind that we can select or identify an optative sentence into two ways. Two ways. Number one, main. Number one, main. Starting word main, and finally there is the notes of full stop. Full stop. Number two, starting word long live, and finally there is the notes of full stop. There are various kinds of example may be given with the reference of this selection of an operative sentence, such as may you long live, may you be happy, may you pass the exam, may you prosper in life, long live our president, long live our Bangladesh, etc. Okay, my dear learners, now think about an exclamatory sentence. Exclamatory sentence. You have to mind that, my dear learners, there are various kinds of always of identification of an exclamatory sentence. Among various kinds of ways of identification of an exclamatory sentence, I'm trying to highlight some ways, my dear learners. Number one, starting word have plus adjective. Have plus adjective finally lead to the notes of exclamation. Number two, starting word OH, A oblique N, plus adjective and finally ended with the notes of exclamation. Number three, starting word would and finally ended with the notes of exclamation. Number four, starting word had, finally ended with the notes of exclamation. Number five, starting word if and finally ended with the notes of first word. Number six, various kinds of interjection may be used first beginning of the statement such as row, bray, bow, ls, oh, out, wow, fi, and finally ended with the notes of full stop. Magellanus, with the reference of this identification of an exclamatory sentence, I have written some examples in the board. So, Magellanus, take a look at the board and try to understand. Number one, how still page you are. How stupid you are. This sentence is started with the have and final ended with the notes of exclamation. So, my dear learners, we can call or consider this sentence into exclamatory sentence. Number two, my dear learners, starting with what you can plus adjective and final ended with the notes of exclamation. Number three, starting word would that and final ended with the notes of exclamation. Number four, starting word had and final ended with the notes of exclamation. Had I been a king, had I been a king. Number five, starting word if I were a queen, or a queen. Number six, starting word hooray, hooray, we on the game. Number seven, starting word brave, bow, brave, Raisa stood fast in the exam, stood fast in the exam. Number eight, my dear learners, starting word alas, my father died in 2020. Starting with number nine, starting with wow, oh, sorry, oh, the man is super, the man is super. Number 10, five, five, you are so bad, five, five, you are so bad. Such kinds of various kinds of example may be given with the reference of this selection way of an explanatory sentence of that you have understood clearly. My dear learners, now think about selection of a simple sentence. Selection of a simple sentence. My dear learners, you'll have to mind that at the time of making a understand about the definition of a simple sentence, you're told that, my dear learners, a simple sentence is a type of sentence which has at least a principal verb. Sometimes it may have any phrases or not. Of that you have understood clearly. And from this definition, with a reference of the definition of a simple sentence, I have written some identification or selection of a simple sentence. And you'll have to mind that, my dear. So there are different kinds of selection of a simple sentence, but among various types of selection of simple sentence, I have I'm trying to highlight just some selection oil. So, let's take a look at the word and try to understand. Number one, Nuts. You have to mind that starting word by plus zero and finally ended with the notes of full stop. Starting word finally and plus starting word by plus G ranch finally ended with the notes of full stop. Number two, Nuts. Without starting word without plus Jiran, without plus Jiran, and finally ended with the notes of full stop. Number three, starting word being and finally ended with the notes of full stop. Starting word present present participle, and finally ended with the notes of full stop. Starting word because of, and finally ended with the notes of full stop. Starting word in spite of, despite, and finally there is the notes of full stop. You have to mind that, my dear learners, these a few categories of selection or by plus zero, without plus zero, and being present participle because of, in spite of, or despite may be used middle of the statement, no problem. But such if any sentence is starting word, such kinds of words or mixing any word middle of the statement, of course simple sentence. You have to mind that, my dear learners. Next, starting with subject and finally engage with the not so full stop. Then media learners next chores mixed with to, that means infinitive to. You have to mind you that, media learners, if any sentence is mixed with infinitive to, of course you know that what's infinitive. Of course you know that 2 plus v1, 2 plus v1, the form of 2 plus v1 is called infinitive, which was the this is a matter of our previous classes. You know that you have understood clearly. Next, mixed with in ortacho, in ortacho, and finally ended with the notes of full stop. Next, mixed with the two, the cho, and finally ended with the notes of full stop. And so mixed with the two, the for, and finally ended with the notes of full stop. Of that you have understood clearly. My dear learners, what kinds of examples may be given with this reference of this selection or such as like by reading more, you can make a good result. By working hard, you can prosper in life. Next, major learners, without reading more, you can't pass in the exam. Without studying more, you can't prosper in life. Being honest, everyone loves Mr. Rohim. Being truthful, everyone love him, etc. Then, present participle. Reading English, I went to school. Cooking rice, mother went to bed. Doing the work, father went to Dhaka. Next, because of major learners, because of his being ill, he couldn't go to school. Because of his reading more, he made a good result. Next, in spite of or despite major learners, in spite of his being ill, he went to school. In spite of his poverty, he's honest, etc. Then subject the honest boy can prosper in life. Bangladesh is an infinite country. Health is wealth. Money brings money, etc. So we go to school. to learn, we tries to live, etc. In order to, such as in order to, we tries in order to live well. We go to school in order to learn, etc. He is then to the two. The old man is too weak to walk. He is too weak to speak. The baby is too small to speak. Or what? Then to the doctor. The sum was too hard for me to solve, etc. Example may be given of the draw you have understood clearly. Magellanus, let's now think about your selection or identification ways of complex sentence. You know that Magellanus, a complex sentence is a type of sentence which has a principal clause and a subordinate clause of the you have understood clearly. Magellanus, there are various kinds of selection of complex sentence, but among various kinds of ways, I'm trying to highlight a few ways, such as take a look at the word and try to understand. Number one, starting word. If you and finally there with the notes of full stop. Starting word. If you don't and finally there with the notes of full stop. My general notes. Various kinds of example may be given with the reference of this selection. If you read more, you can make a good result. If you eat a balanced diet, you can keep fit. And then if you don't read more, you can sure make a good result. If you brush it, you can switch various kinds of example may be given sense. Then sense oblique as finally into the notes of full stop, such as since Rahim read more, he made a good result. Then I was ill yesterday, I couldn't go to school. Then when starting out when and final into the notes of full stop. When mother cooked rice, she went to the deer. When I read English, I went to crossing, etc. Then though starting word though oblique although and finally into the notes of full stop. Such as though I was ill, I went to school. Although it was raining heavily, Rahim went to school. Then the pronoun. The man who made a good result is my uncle. The boy who made a good result is my brother, etc. So that so mixed with so that and finally India with the notes of full stop. Such as my dear learners, we went to school so that we can learn. We try so that we can live well. Then so that. So that the old man was so ill that he couldn't work. The baby is so small that he can't speak or work or work. Then that we know that the earth moves around the sun. We know that man is mortal, etc. Before the patient had died before the doctor came. The patient died after the doctor came. Next to it, before, after that, so that relative pronoun finally get to the also full stop. Then as soon as starting word, as soon as and finally get to the notion full stop. Model and as soon as the thief saw the police here away, as soon as the doctor came, the patient died, etc. No sooner the doctor had no sooner had the doctor come, the patient had died. Then the patient died. No sooner had we gone to station, the train left away, etc. Example may be given. Then scarcely had the done before, such as no scarcely had we gone to school before the class started. Scarcely had we gone to station before the train left. Then hardly had middle learners. Hardly had we gone to school. Our class started. When our class started, hardly had we gone to station when the train left. But and so example will be given with the reference of the selection. I hope that you have understood clearly. Magellanus, let's think about complex sentence. You know that Magellanus, at the time of making you understand, so what is the definition of a compound sentence? You told that Magellanus, a compound sentence is a type of sentence which has two principal clauses mixed with various kinds of coordinating conjunctions such as and answer but, either daughter or neither daughter nor, etc. My dear learners, there are various kinds of selection way of compound sentence, but among various kinds of selection way, I'm trying to highlight a few ways, such as number one, mixed with and finally ended with the notes of first of, mixed with and so finally ended with the notes of full stop. Mixed with or but mixed with but and finally ended with the notes of full stop. Mixed with or finally ended with the notes of full stop. Mixed with either the or finally ended with the notes of full stop. Mixed with neither judge nor neither judge nor finally ended with the notes of full stop. And various kinds of example may be given with the reference of this selection I am. With the reference of this selection, I have written some example. My challengers, take a look at the board and try to understand. Number one, Raisha read English and she went to school. Take a look at the board and try to understand. Raisha, this sentence has two parts. Number one, Raisha read English, principal clause, and she went to school. This part, of course, a principal clause, and next to it, the following conjunction. That's so. Next example mixed with and so. Raisha report and so she have made a good result. This sentence has two parts. Number one, Raisha read more, and another part, Raisha make a good result. Both clause, of course, principal clause and mixed with coordinate conjunction and so. Magellanus. Next example, I am poor, but I am happy. This sentence has two words, wearing two principal clothes. I am poor, I am happy. This in this sentence, two person or two word, I'm poor and I'm happy. Of course, principal clause and both clauses are mixed with the ordinary conjunction. But so, many learners have that you have understood clearly. Next example. My dear learners, read more or you can't prosper in life. Okay, my dear learners, this sentence has two parts. One part read more, that means you will read more, and another part you can prosper in life. Of course, both part are principal clauses and mixed with the coordinate conjunction or of the you have understood clearly. My dear learners, I don't want to learn in today's class, but finishing today's class, I want to share some information with you, my dear learners. Of course, you know that I'm a new teacher or a teacher or a YouTube channel. Though I'm Bangladeshi by birth, but I'm trying to use English conversation as well as Bengali conversation at the time of my making various kinds of video classes. So, my dear learners, if you notice any faults or mistakes in the middle of the video classes, please excuse me and pray to always to Allah so that I can help you, I can call off or achieve, I can start giving this right from my video classes throughout my life. So my dear learners, no more today. Come to stay again with a new class and new words. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.